All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jeff Ahern Show. It's a couple days before Christmas. I hope you're all got your holiday shopping done. You're ready to go. And when I say ready to go, I mean just, sit in your house and and wait and relax. You got all the work out of the way, all the presents wrapped ideally, and everything just ready to enjoy, ready to turn off the world, if you will. But before you turn off the world, let's talk about the world and what's going on in it, and then turn it off after that. Again, my name is Jeff Ahern. If you're new to the show, check me out also on Rumble. I'm there quite often, and ideally, check me out on jeffahern.com or on my Patreon site at silasrothschild.com. Any of those will do. Let's get into things. I just did a story yesterday. It's a fresh story. It's hot off the presses, ladies and gentlemen, hot off the presses. And it's one of the, again, the left is, I mean, I complain about the left constantly. It's what I do. It's what I do for a living. But they are just this unending, never-ending source of material. Like you're like, oh, thank you for in a way this gift of absurdity that I can now make fun of. And you're like, well, there's no way. I mean, that's got to be the top of their game. They can't have anything stupider than that coming down. Nope. Here you go. Here's another one. Every day, some more woke horse crap, basically. And so yesterday, it was the military. They commissioned this story is up on a Patreon and all the other sites too. But the military had commissioned a $2 million study. The Marine Corps did that decided that drill sergeants, or rather drill instructors for the Marines, you need to make sure that you don't say sir or ma'am to them because it could hurt their feelings. Now, they don't say it could hurt their feelings, but it says that basically. It says they could be offended by it, All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. These are Marine drill instructors, okay? Now, when you see videos of Marines or movies about Marines, is the drill instructor this frail, namby-pamby kind of, a wilting flower? What kind of, you would never have the job of drill instructor if that was, you wouldn't be a Marine, let alone a drill instructor if that was at least in the old days, I assume. Unless you have some tenacity, some oomph, some chutzpah, right? And so like if you misidentified a drill sergeant's gender by going sir or ma'am, and they now identify as ma'am or sir, they're going to let you know. You're not going to be an HR meeting. You're going to be on the ground in the mud doing push-ups while they got their boot in your neck, smashing your face into the mud so you can't breathe while you're gurgling muddy water. You're going to remember next time. These guys and ladies and whoever else, is the drill sergeants or drill instructors. Their job is to break you. So if the person whose job is to break you so you can be built back up again, if they can't handle a pronoun, if a pronoun is going to break them, just the insanity, the absurdity to spend, there was other stupid crap in the study too, I'm sure, but this is what stuck out to me. Make sure we use their name, use non-gender qualified, blah, 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 horse crap. It's so stupid. Like I said, these drill instructors are looking for you to mess up somewhere so they can just bring down the hammer. So if you're giving them a gift, if you misgender them, trust me, it's just so stupid. And so who decided this? Did the drill instructors all get together and like, hey, occasionally someone calls me not by my preferred pronoun, and it's breaking my heart. No, of course not. These wokesters up top, these high-level wokesters are like, what can we do? We need to make I'm giving them too aggressive masculine voices, I think. But basically, you got these woke ivory tower people who are so far removed from the ground forces, from what's going on, that they're just making these woke decisions for people. No one asked for this. Sir, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You can't do that anymore because you might offend a drill sergeant or a drill instructor. I mean, it's just absolute mess. What kind of military are we going to have? Forget throwing grenades at our military. If you hurl the wrong pronoun at them from a distance of 100 feet, we'll all turn around and run, apparently. But what are we doing? What are we doing? And it's just, the woke destroys, it's like an acid. It just eats through everything. It destroys everything. It really does. You look at just in general, just qualifications for things. Now, not just, I did a story on this a while back. This was for fire department, but it's true of the military too. And it's the lowering of the standards, and you can't lower the standards. You have to at least hit the minimum standards required to perform the job. That's why they have minimum standards. So if you have a minimum standard that's needed to perform a job, and if you fall below that standard, it's deemed that you probably won't be able to perform that job. You can't, just because you're female or trans or whatever, however you identify, drop that standard to the point where you now, if you pass, can't perform the job you're supposed to be able to do. And I'm talking specifically about physicality, about, carrying weight, things like that. You're a lot of firefighting places, in order to be woke, social justice, blah, blah, blah. You got to have more women on the force. Great. That's fine. So long as you don't have to dumb down the test. And when I say dumb down, I mean physically lower the standards physically. I feel like there's no difference in whatever, written tests are taken. That's not an issue. But for the physical part, it is. And so you now have these women who are coming into either the Marines or whatever, the armed forces, and they're not held to the same physical standards as the men. Now, you can get away with that. I'm sorry about the voice. You can get away with that a little bit, to the point where it doesn't affect the job that they are required to do. Maybe you can lower a little. That was a little high. They can probably get by with this. But now you're lowering it to the point where they can't do the job. So let's say you're a firefighter. You're going to a burning building. You're a female firefighter. You're, I don't know, 5'6". Let's make you big. Let's make you 6 feet. And you go in. There's a 250-pound guy. Let's call him 200-pound guy. You got to pull him out of that burning building, or he's going to die. Well, guess what? If you've lowered the standards and you've never had to drag it in your training, 200 pounds out of any place, and your max is 150. But to be woke, they lowered it down to 150. Well, that guy's going to die now. Now, if you'd hired someone who could have done the physically demanding and necessary work to perform that job correctly or sufficiently, that guy lives. Same thing on a battlefield. You got a guy with a lot of gear, stuff. He's fat. He's probably not that big. He's a Marine. Let's call him let's say he's like 200 pounds though. Same thing. You got to pull him off the battlefield. Can you do that job? So that's my biggest problem with lowering the physical standards in anything, whether it's police, fire, military. The wokesters lower these physical standards of these jobs to the point where the people who now pass can't perform the job if it was ever required of them. All just so they can go, look, we have 3 women or whatever. And again, if a woman's killing it, she got no problem. She can pull somebody up, rip them all, and they're out there. There's lots of them. Good. Sign her up. Let her lead. I have no problem with that. My problem is when you lower the physical standards for your tests, when in the reality, in the real world, those physical standards have stayed the same. They're not going down. If anything, they're going up. We're getting fatter, right? It's an issue. But again, it's all this catering to wokeness, whether it's these physical things where you're lowering standards, or whether it's just sir, ma'am, it's nonsense. Where else is this happening? What other country is this happening in? It's not. It isn't. This is how good we have it. We have time to play around in the fields of woke nonsense. People are starving, in other countries. People are in civil wars in other countries. We got it so good. We have time to be like, I want to be called sir and ma'am. Other people are like, food, please. Let me have some food. We don't have enough crop. We're like, I was misgendered today. That's how good we got it. We can be upset about this stuff. But the more we get upset about it, and the more we let it drag us down, eventually we will be like, I need food. And then, what's your gender? Who cares about my gender? Just give me food. This. Merry Christmas. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. And again, $2 million study. Did we need a $2 million study for that? No. Also, see, Christmas, sort of. The bit I did, I don't know, my voice is I don't know what's going on with my voice today, but The bit I did on Rumble and Patreon and also on jeffahern.com includes some movies I changed the titles of as well, but I'll let you go check that out there. All right, so let's hit Fox and see what's going on. Fox reporter hits the headline here. Reporter hit with Biden tall. Reporter hit with Biden's tall tales after questioning Republicans' shaky claim. Biden just makes stuff up. Like, I mean, back in the day, Biden would I mean, he always lied. I mean, he makes stuff up. He lies. He's notorious. He's a plagiarist. He had to back out of one presidential campaign because he was caught plagiarizing. I mean, he's a liar. That's what he does. Now he's at the point though where he's so senile. I don't even know if he knows he's lying anymore. He just kind of says whatever he wants, and the media won't question it because they're not a real media, and they will. They don't want to, if they have to address that he's lying, and then they want to say, well, he's not lying. It's just he's cognitively impaired. They're going to be like, oh, I mean, let's just not talk about it. That's where our liberal media is. It's a lose-lose for them on it, so they don't cover it. But yeah, he constantly lies. So reporter hit with Biden tall tales after questioning Republican shaky claim. Yeah, I mean, he's a man who obviously is in no condition to be president. He just isn't. And he's going to, the funniest part is I think he's going to run again. And it's like a funny sad. It's a sad funny, really, more than anything else. Like the first time I'm like, well, oh, this is just sad. The Democrats are going to run Biden. I mean, obviously, even the Democrats aren't going to vote for the guy. He's like senile. He's not all there at all. He's not even remotely. It's pretty visible and obvious. Not a problem with it. He was going against Trump, so whatever. They would have elected a tin can over Trump because they hate him so much. So now they want to run him again. Well, what happens if Trump isn't the other candidate? And sadly, I think liberals are just so all in on. They're like, well, no, we have to vote Democrat. Someone might address a drill sergeant as sir or ma'am otherwise. And then, so they're just going to vote him in. I mean, if I was uncertain of it, when they voted in Fetterman, I was like, okay, yeah, that's where they're at. That's where they don't care. As long as it's got a D by it, they don't care. How's Fetterman doing, by the way? Or his wife, since she's actually in charge. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's shocking. You always have material, and it's good and bad. It's mostly bad. Man hit. Here's just a non-political story. Man hits record 310 mile an hour in street legal Ford. All right, good. That sounds great. Can't do that on the regular streets, but sure, why not? Nightmare before Christmas. Worst is yet to come with the winter storms, the wrecks, the travel. Yeah, again, that's the thing we were just talking about at the beginning. If you can and you're not traveling or you're already where you want to be, don't leave. Just hunker down and enjoy the family if you can. If you have a family you enjoy, and just hole up. You don't want to leave. You don't want to go out there right now. I just want to get a coffee, and I regret it. It's just a parking lots like this. I'm like trying not to hit pedestrians as I back out. Just it's madhouse. And I was just getting coffee. I'm not leaving the house again until Monday. Woke humbug. This one I may do a story on this today, even though it's the holidays. I'm like, I'm going to take 3 days off, but I like doing stories. Woke humbug. A church criticized for rewriting beloved 17th century Christmas hymn. All right. First of all, 17th century Christmas hymn. Well, if you're not going to name the hymn, if it's some obscure hymn, I got to be honest, I don't really care. Like if it's not something I'm singing on rotation, and you want to monkey with it, who's going to notice, really? But I'm going to look further. If it's like oh my gosh, my voice. If it's a classic, then it's different. Oh my goodness gracious! All right, give me a second here. I've been doing pretty good with the voice. This is the first one where it's kind of going right before Christmas, so I get a little time to rest it, I guess. Goodness gracious. All right, 9-time. We're going to go out, I think, move on to New York Post, see what they got here. While I give my voice a little second or two to rest. Here we are. Oh, goodness. The Post has a salacious headline, and that it's like a woman lady in a bikini. All right, it's eye-catching. Model endured toughest year ever. Okay, so a model died That's always sad. Okay. I want to say about that. It's you talk about, how things, oh, like we're all equal and this and that, and everything should be the same, but yet, the newspapers, when they cover stories, it's generally the hotter the victim. I hate to say it, the more press the victim gets. Like, this woman's very attractive, and they're starting with a bikini shot to talk about the tragedy. All right. Yeah. And I should be laughing, but it is what it is. And you look at the Idaho murders, even that's crazy. But one of the big things, like both of the girls are the two killed are all out of the four. They were like pretty attractive. They were like model good looking. So there's like always more. Oh yeah. So that's like kind of a human nature thing. But somehow that all, for liberalism, generally they try and get rid of human nature, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't exist. It's like, no, these things exist. We're wired a certain way, and we find certain things more attractive than other things, and that's why advertisers advertise the way they do. And just because you want to woke things the way you want, or the way you think they should be, there's human nature, and that outplays or outperforms, or is what's going to win at the end of the day. And human nature has preferences. For example, why do you think newspapers, why do you think most, although they're going to plus size models now here and there, but not aggressively. No one's going all plus size model unless it's a plus size lineup or a plus size product. Then it would make a lot of sense. Why is that? Well, because human nature, and what we like is what we like. And you can't force us to like something else because you think it's woke, when in fact biologically we see things a certain way. And but that's wokeness. Wokeness wants to override common sense. Wokeness wants to override biology. Wokeness wants to override human just nature in general. I mean, that's the whole problem with socialism and communism, isn't it? The problem is human nature. It's us. You get a person with the best of intentions. Everything's going to be equal. Everyone's going to share. Everything's going to be this and blah, 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 utopia. But in the end, the people in charge are human, and they resort back to their human instincts in nature. And, what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You have people who can't handle the power, and then they become despots. And then by that point, it's too late. But the liberals live in this fantasy world where all that is ignored for whatever they wrote down on paper. It's like, no, you don't deal in any sense in the real world with the rest of us. And you can't write on paper the way things are supposed to be when there's no chance of that ever occurring. We have the best system of government there is, free market capitalism, and they're trying to take the free market out of it. You look at the green vehicles and then the rest of it. It doesn't work that way. You can make it happen, but it's going to be disaster. You're going to have skyrocketing fuel prices. You're going to have, like we talked about last week, Biden approving, I think we talked about last week, child labor in the Congo and Zambia, because that's how much he wants his green batteries. They know they have child labor there. UNICEF says that they have it there. Child slave labor. Amnesty International says that they have it there. And even the Biden administration did a study in October that says they have it there in the southern Congo, specifically 40,000 kids work in these mines that mine cobalt required for these batteries. So why do they do it? Because they want to keep the batteries cheap. Electric cars are already on average $64,000. And then that would mean they would have to raise the fuel prices even higher to make them even remotely appealing or comparable to a gas-powered vehicle. Yet they are willing to engage and fund countries who promote child labor, because that's how important green energy is to them. To hell with your kids, to hell with your slave labor, whatever, give us our batteries. And by the way, when we're done with the batteries, we're not going to keep them because they're toxic. We're going to throw them right back at your country and you can deal with them. It's all smoke and mirrors. That's the part of the green that you never see. And it's a big part of the green. But it gets ignored. No one covers that. No one. Where's the coverage in the press? And I did a story about it. I got my story from, so I think I saw it on the Post or something, or I rooted around for it. It's certainly, because it's certainly non-narrative. It's insane to be okay with child labor, slave labor for kids. These kids work 12-hour days. They carry loads from 40 to 80 pounds. I mean, the pictures, it's shocking. You can just Google it. Google cobalt mine, Congo, Zambia. That's what our government is supporting right now to get cheap batteries for our green drive, to be green and woke. Meanwhile, you got kids dying, kids who are getting lung diseases, kids who are getting rashes and infections because they don't give them masks or gloves. They're slave labor. Slave labor don't get nothing. They don't get nothing. But they make $1, $2 a day. And so you can drive around your Tesla and go, I'm so woke. Look at me. Hi. No, it's disgusting. You're a hypocrite. And again, I have no problem with electric vehicles, but you need to source those batteries to places that don't use child labor. Guess what that's going to do? That's going to drive up the cost of your electric car. So maybe you don't force everyone to buy one until you figure out other ways to reduce the cost of that vehicle, rather than demanding we all get it. Like in California, you won't even be able to get a gas engine vehicle after 2035, I think. But it's all happening someplace else. The batteries, they are all going someplace else. They're ruining someone else's water supply. They're polluting someone else's ground. We don't see it, so we don't feel. Where's the electricity coming from? Coal-fired plants, prominently, but they're not around here, so we don't see it. So it's all over there in Appalachia or somewhere. It's all smoke and mirrors. Anyway, Mark, I'm sorry, Mark. I went on a little bit of a tangent there to say the least. He said, I got to catch up with you. There was a rumor that Biden. That's so funny. Mark said there was a rumor that Biden pinched Zelensky's butt when he visited. I hope he did. It's just, to me, that's hysterical. It sounds made up, but I mean, Pelosi. If you told me Pelosi did it, I think she tried to like most awkward kiss I've ever seen. That was just uncomfortable for everyone. I think for Russians, for Ukrainians, if they united those two countries and just they're like, Zelensky kissing Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, maybe while Zelensky was kissing Pelosi, Biden pinched his butt. All right, and why didn't Republicans stand? A few acted crazy. I don't know. Obviously they didn't agree with how much money they gave him or whatever. I don't know. I'm all for Zelensky to and giving him stuff, giving him what he needs to fend off Russia, because every Russia, even when they're not successful, is spending money and resources, and Russia is very dangerous under Putin. The guy's nuts. His people don't even want to be involved in this war, I think, for the most part. He's getting sick. So yeah, I say help Zelensky out. I don't know. I unless there's something I don't know about Zelensky, which maybe I don't. I feel like you could have stood, but who the hell knows? It's a free country, I guess, right? At least sort of. Do folks still write letters? This is from Mark. I wonder if modern day Virginia could write a letter. I don't know about that. Is there child labor at Walmart and McDonald's? Yeah, not really. Think about Walmart and McDonald's. These kids aren't getting, I forget what they call it. It's like dead lung or just some terrible name for like a thing that kills them. Kids. And I'm laughing. But I mean, that's because it's so absurd and we're funding it. So I don't think you get that at McDonald's from working the fry machine. I don't think your lungs are going to give out on you at 15 from putting fries in a basket. It's a lot lighter to carry someone's meal order to their table, which I don't think even happens at McDonald's. Than carrying these huge back-breaking loads up and down hills in mud, Zelensky's wife. Yeah, look at Mark. Mark, you're all dialed into Zelensky. Yeah, I would have an issue with that. It was Mark said, and I'm sure you're probably right. Zelensky's wife went on a 40K shopping spree in Paris, or so they say. Who is they, first of all, Mark? But yeah, I mean, if she did do that, that is horribly poor form. I mean, give me a break. You can't be doing that. The hell's the matter with you? Yeah, that would be really bad. I don't know if it's true, but you got to source these a little more as to who they are. Who's they? MSNBC, CNN. I mean, it's just a very. These are the people who told us that the Trump was colluding with Russia for 4 years and never apologized. By the way, in case you're just tuning in, he didn't. Though you won't have heard it from the liberal media. That is why their ratings are tanking. That's why CNN is laying people up. CNN has a new, thank God, has a new CEO, CFO, whatever, the new person in charge. And he's got to fix this sinking ship. And how is he going to fix it? This is a radical idea. I think this is, at least it's what he's saying. Very radical idea. He's going to cover news. Says he's going to cover news objectively. Wow, really? And the left is furious about it. I don't know if he means it or if he's just saying it, but the left is furious that he even said it. Cover news objectively. No, that'd be like Twitter. Now we won't have a complete quash of anything that goes against our narrative. The facts might actually get out. The algorithms won't start suppressing other opinions but our own. We may be suppressed for just flat out lying. I mean, remember, that was a shocker for the White House. He used to just pumping out lie after lie on Twitter, and then Musk said, "Hey, well, we're done with that, Joe. We're going to start calling you out on that stuff." They had to retract it. Some other made up Biden nonsense. Oh, you think it was Newsweek? Yeah, it probably was true, and it's sad. It's sad. Yeah, I might have sat just based on the wife spending $40K in Paris shopping spree. I think that might have made me sit. Be like, bro. Well, at least Zelensky didn't show up in like some Armani suit. He was kind of dressed down, but I guess his wife is all, Gucci and Fendi or whatever. Pick your insert designer label here. Well, that's someone I didn't talk about too. Is another story I did earlier in the week about the bling bishop of. Wait, Mark's coming at me hot with lots of news here that I didn't know about. Justice Sotomayor and Kagan might retire for real. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Sotomayor just got the gig. Sotomayor's like, but I'll let you be on that bench, 5 months now. I mean, like 5 years. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago that she got on the bench. Retrospect, considering how long they're like popes, once they're on, they gotta die to get them off, generally speaking, or be near death. But wow, okay. Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't think it'll be a big deal because Biden will just elect some other liberal. It would be nice if he would this time around, since last time around, he said he was just going to hire based on race and gender. If he just goes on merit, be crazy idea. And then whoever fills that, the most meritorious candidate. How about this, Joe? How about you don't look at the sex, gender, blah, blah, blah of the candidate and you just look at their work and at their resume. It's a thing that you use when you're trying to find if someone's qualified rather than just, hold them up against a color swatch or whatever. Liberals want to do now. Go for merit, Joe. That's all I'm asking. I know it'll be liberal, but just go on merit. Meet us halfway. How about that, Joe? New York Times says emergency rooms favor the rich. I don't know. It depends which emergency room, really. It favors those who have insurance. That's for sure. I agree. But yeah, rich people have an advantage. There's no question. You can't say. I mean, rich people can get things that poor people can't. They can get services, and I mean that's that's kind of the benefit of being rich. Is it like fair? No, I don't think it's necessarily fair. But at the same time, if you go the other way and you're like everyone needs the same crappy health care, and we got to stop paying doctors so much, and this and so now we take the government and we take the free market out of health care, and so now we just have everyone has just this horrible health care, and nobody's happy. I mean, I feel like at least now a lot of people, even if you don't have money, you're going to get pretty damn good health care. You won't be able to get like the latest, $1 million drug that's barely available to the general public. You got to be a rich person to do that. But you're still overall, if something happens to you, you go into an emergency room, you're going to get pretty damn good health care, considering, where the rest of the world is at. Now, if you go and socialize everything, a poor person going in who was getting pretty damn good health care, and I believe that, is now going to get horrible health care. Everyone's going to get horrible health care. And there's going to be, more importantly, the lines, the waiting. You look at the socialized medicine places. Canada's a good example. My mother-in-law, she lives out there, and the lines to get anything done, the wait to get anything done is just horrendous. I mean, you got to be at death's door for them to really even bump you up. So there's situations and there's illnesses and cancers and things like that could have been mitigated if they were attacked earlier, but that have been allowed to grow and get worse because they simply don't have a place for you or a time for you to get in sooner. I mean, months. That's socialized medicine. But yeah, I would say, yeah, for sure, the emergency rooms favor the rich. I mean, I would say the emergency rooms do, but I would say, well, here's the thing, Mark. Everything really favors the rich. I mean, if you want to get, you want to, be truthful about it. If you're rich, you're going to get a nicer car. You're going to get a nicer house. You're going to get, I mean, you got the money, you can spend it. You talk about things like stem cells. I don't know a lot about stem cells, but people seem to swear by them. For injuries and things, people tell you, you get the stem cells and what was a really bad elbow or a bad joint, suddenly it's like, oh, wow, it's really, but those things are not covered under your basic health care. You got to be a rich guy or rich lady to get some of those, I think. So yeah, you're definitely, really, I look at it this way, Mark, it's more of a motivation to do well in life. So what's the best way to do well in life? Let's talk about that. Is it to believe you're a victim and nothing's ever going to get better for you, so you should just rely on the government? What are your chances of becoming wealthy with that mindset? None. It'll never happen. Or do you believe in yourself or follow a party that tells you you should believe in yourself and that you can accomplish your wildest dreams and live just an amazing life? And more importantly, once you've achieved your success, help others. That's the one thing that you don't talk about. And I know I'm not defending like everybody rich is great. There's a lot of them are jackasses, but there's also many, many very wealthy people, Democrat and Republican, who give and give and give, who support charities, who give massive donations for college educations, for autism, for cerebral palsy, I mean, if these people aren't here with all this money to give to people, then we're all these victims waiting around for someone to give us money. Well, eventually there's no one left to give us any money. There's no tax, but you know what I mean? And again, it goes back to the problems with inherent in socialism and communism. Eventually you run out of other people's money to take. And everyone's just looking around for a handout. And so, like I said, the free market system is the best system there is. It just is. It just is. And people want to keep rebadging or rebranding socialism and communism. This is the new one. It's going to work this time. No, it's not. It's not. Is capitalism perfect? Far from. But it's still the best system we have. Free market capitalism is the best system we have. Because again, it goes back to just being human and our very own human desires and manifestations and how we do that. Those function best in a free market system where you can create your own life, you can create your own destiny, so long as you believe you can do it. Again, if you find yourself in that victim mode where like, everyone's against me and you're doomed. But if you believe in yourself, this is the greatest country in the world to live in. Even if you don't believe in yourself, it's the greatest country in the world to live in, because the government will just still give you money. That doesn't happen in Zambia, doesn't happen in the Congo. We're going back again, where kids, young children, you look at the pictures, they look like they're not toddlers, but just out of toddlerhood, are forced to work in mines. And those are systems that are controlled by a few individuals. Those governmental systems are very autocratic. I'm sure they started out with these grand visions of socialisms, or at least sold it to their people. Oh, it's going to be great. Leave us in charge. Let the government control everything. Oh, your kids are going to be working in mines in a few years. But yeah, other than that, swell. So yeah, that's where we're at right now with a lot of this and all these things. The problems I was talking about, the Congo, Zambia, places like that are all, examples of not having a free market capitalist system. I mean, I suppose in some ways, it's all government controlled. But with the kids there, I guess that's a little overly aggressive free market, if you want to look at it that way, where you're allowed kids to work in mines, but it's the result of socialistic, despotic, autocratic governments, whether they pretend they're not, or whether they're pretending they are or they aren't. There are few people in control, and they're telling everybody else what to do, and they have no real idea what they're doing. I mean, they have some idea, but they do great. Their lives are wonderful, and everyone else's are horrible, And I'll bet you, I don't know that they have any public health care. I don't know how their health care system is. I bet it's awful. I bet it's downright terrible. But wait a minute, we're all the same. We're all at the same level of poverty and misery for the most part. Shouldn't we have great? No, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. You live in America, the greatest country on earth. And that's another thing. I did a story about that. I'm getting all the stories I did this week. And again, check them out on jeffahern.com, Patreon, Rumble. But Stanford University decided that the word American, there was other words, but that's the one that stuck out for me. The word American was to be avoided, to not be used. They came out on Twitter. They're like, oh, we didn't ban it, but obviously they would prefer you didn't use it because it was on a list of words not to use because it might offend somebody. American. They would prefer you use U.S. citizen over American. They would prefer you not use the word grandfather. They would prefer you not use the word abort. They would prefer, I'm trying to remember all their words on their list. It's a long list. They would prefer you not use the word chief when you don't, when addressing someone. They said, don't use the word chief. Here's the thing about the word chief. The reason they want you to use their actual name instead of chief, but the reason you use the word chief is because you don't know their name. If someone goes, hey, chief, they don't know your name. And we all know it. It's just like, okay, they don't know my name yet. He called me chief. He doesn't know my name. Yeah. I mean, so but again, the liberals are just like, you should call them by their name instead of chief. Well, why do you think I'm calling him chief? I don't know his name. And now don't start asking me about his pronouns. I don't even know his name or her name or they name. Yes, sir. No, sir. I can't say that anymore either. So anyway, Stanford University doesn't want you to say chief. They don't want you to say brave because like the notion of brave or bravery, somehow someone, some troglodyte, and I'm probably not allowed to say that either. Some troglodyte's not going to be allowed to is going to get confused. Like, he's talking about an Indian. No, he's talking about someone with courage, bravery, brave. It's flattering in a way. And so they don't want you to use that word either. That word's gone. And yet, I did a little research. Stanford is on the Muwekma Indian tribe's ancestral land. The whole school. They're squatting on Indian land. When, my woke Stanford alum and leaders, are you going to give the land back to the ancestors of the Muwekma tribe? When is that happening? Never. Oh, but they're really in with the Indian community there. They named a couple buildings after them. I think they put something on the lunch menu in their honor. I mean, I'm making the second part up, but maybe I'm not. That'll be next week. But it's the hypocrisy. Oh, so you can't even say the word chief. You can't say the word brave. And I'm not that attached to chief, but brave, come on. But, so you can't say these because it's offensive. It's offensive. You know what's offensive is you're on their land and you won't give it back. You hypocrites. If you're so woke, then fess up for the sins of your ancestors. Find someone go to ancestry.com, find every Muwekma Indian you can in that area, in the San Jose, wherever that area is, and tell them to move on over. You just have to leave the keys and let them come in. Otherwise, it's all a bunch of crap. And that's all this is. It's hypocrisy. Oh, we're so woke. No, you're not. You're not. You're charlatans. You're playing a game. You're playing to the village idiots, and the village idiots somehow seem to have gotten control of the country because they're the loudest and everyone else is scared. I don't know how else to explain it. Harvard appointed a black woman president. Cool, that's cool. Again, I'll be happy when we live in that's from Mark. I'll be happy when we live in a place where the race, the gender doesn't even come in. It'll just be Harvard appointed a new president. It'll just be a new Supreme Court justice nominated. And then the name of the person, right? It won't be black Supreme Court justice nominated. White cop shoots black, whatever. None of that. The race won't be in bold on every single thing that's going on in the world. That's when we know we've made progress. But when we're constantly obsessed, and this is the liberal media in a nutshell, with race and everything's about race, and yet we claim to not be racist, that's crap. When we can just talk and the race doesn't enter into it at all, that's when we've succeeded as coming together. And that's why the liberals will never allow it. That's why the media will never allow it. They have to keep us fighting. Because if we're not fighting against each other, we're going to look around and realize what a horrible world they're creating around us with their policies. And we'll get mad and we'll unite and vote them out. And that's their biggest fear. That is their absolute biggest fear. So I think that's it. I'm almost saying, hey, Mark, thank you for coming in. You had a lot of good stuff. Oh my God, I got to look up Zelensky's wife spending $40K on a shopping. What the hell? Just what's the matter with people? What is the matter with people? Man. Hi, Chihuahua. All right. Yeah, I'm just processing. I'm just processing that whole thing. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a very Merry Christmas. And remember, if left to our own devices, if the media gets out of our way, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, binary, non, this, that, we're all going to come together. We're going to unite. And so the biggest enemy right now for a happy and joyous and united world is the media. It's the Democrat Party, but they can't do it without the assistance of the media, which they, for the most part, tell what to say. I haven't talked about this in a while, but it's true. Like not the happiest time, but the most unified I ever felt as an American, which I'm not allowed to say anymore if I go to Stanford University. So such a horrible term. But back when we were allowed to say the word American and not have side eyes thrown at us, I felt most united with my fellow Americans right after 9/11, because it was literally like a 2-minute window after that happened, after that tragedy happened, 2 week, let's call it, window, where for a week, the media let off the gas on the hate. The media let off the gas on the division. The media, if anything, briefly encouraged unity. And you would look at each other and you wouldn't see race, you wouldn't see color, you wouldn't see sex, you just see another American. And you were connecting to them. I did. I would just look at someone and you'd just be like, we're going to be all right. We got this. There was just this overlying sense of unity. And then a couple of weeks passed and they went back to business as usual. And that ended. And I wish we could go back to that level of connection with each other as Americans. Not look at race or gender or any of this nonsense. It's all a creation of the media. It's not, when I say creation, it's how they get us to fight against each other. And again, the reason they do that is so they can keep Democrats in power, or at least keep us from just seeing the truth that we all, I think for the most part, there's always exceptions, if left to our own devices, would love each other and would get along just fine. So let's all just try and get along for at least Christmas, can we? Maybe turn off, after you watch this, turn off the news and just love each other. So Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless you. And now let me shamelessly plug Patreon, Silas Rothschild, jeffahern.com. Check me out on Rumble. My story I just did on the yes, sir, yes, ma'am in the military is up there right now. So you can check that out. Oh, I just got a phone call from somebody. All right. God bless y'all. Merry Christmas. And Mark, my amazing producer, thank you as always, sir, as I go check out Zelensky's wife spending $40K. I'm sure it was very important. It was, very beneficial for the Ukrainian people that she get a pair of Louis Vuitton high heels or whatever. I don't know what she bought. Maybe she bought all dehydrated food for the troops. Huh? Did you think of that, Mark? Didn't think of that. Yeah, I don't think so either. All right. God bless. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. And I'll see you next week. Bye. Mark was on a roll.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. if I'm really free. Take me down to the river